Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by author, mental health therapist, and Wolf Center volunteer, Monica Leokadia George. Leokadia volunteers at a Wolf Center. She's got a book series out about a wolf named Trumpet, so we're going to be talking to her about the book and about what she does as a mental health therapist and as a Wolf Center volunteer and everything that she's up to and gonna be up to. So Leokadia, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited to share Trumpet's story.
Well, why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
So I am a mental health therapist, but almost a decade ago, I was introduced to the Wolf Conservation Center in South Salem, New York, and started volunteering there. At some point, I started learning about one of the critically endangered Mexican gray wolf's story. Her nickname is Trumpet. Her official name is F1505. She is just an inspiration to me. And I started to write about her amazing story. I ended up writing a children's book series about her, Trumpet the Miracle Wolf Pup. It's now 4 books in the series, and each book is a different segment about her life. So it's just been a fun experience to kind of read the story to kids and get that feedback from the kids, how they enjoy hearing about her life.
Well, talk about the Wolf Conservation Center that you volunteer for. Let us know what they do and give us the backstory on Trumpet's life.
Yeah, so the Wolf Conservation Center, like I said, it's in New York. They participate in the SAFE program, Saving Animals from Extinction. So they do have some ambassador wolves that are socialized. They are Canadian Rocky Mountain gray wolves, and they were raised by humans. But most of the wolves at the Wolf Conservation Center are actually these critically endangered wild wolves. They are the red wolves and then also the Mexican gray wolves. Both of those wolves almost went to full extinction, and they were actually fully extinct in the wild for a time period. But the U.S. Fish and Wildlife was able to gather those wolves together, start a program to repopulate, to build up the numbers for both of those species of wolves. And so I started to learn about that and then started assisting with animal care at the Wolf Conservation Center. And that's when I started to learn about Trumpet's story. So her backstory is actually um, she was the number one most genetically distinct wolf in the entire program. And that was because she is the only descendant from her father. He was the number one most genetically distinct wolf. And unfortunately, he had some fertility issues. So, she was actually considered a miracle birth. When I learned about that, and also the reason why she was nicknamed Trumpet, I was like, this is perfect for kids. We got to get this in the hands of kids. And so I suggested to the Wolf Conservation Center that they should start writing this story. And they, I think, realized how big of a project that would be. So when they weren't gonna do that, I asked if I could do it, and I actually donate 50% of the royalties from the book sales back to the Wolf Conservation Center, and I also donate to other conservation groups, organizations for wolves. But it's just been a really amazing experience to be able to share her story in this format, especially.
Where you're really passionate about saving extinct animals. So talk about the importance and your passion of saving extinct animals.
Yeah, so it just the animals are a blessing for us. We do need to value them and respect all the different animals. And one and if one animal is starting to go extinct, that is a warning sign. It's a warning sign, also for the ecosystem that something's out of balance. Um, you know, we should really be respecting how that ecosystem operates because especially if it's a keystone species, that really regulates all the other species around it. It's dangerous to that whole ecosystem, and it can falter and then affect all the other animals. So we definitely need to make sure that everything is in balance. And these wolves are a keystone species. They do help all the other animals and as well as vegetation, wildlife. Um, we saw that in the example. The most famous example would be that of the reintroduction into Yellowstone, where all of a sudden, when we reintroduced these wolves, the ungulate population started to become better regulated and they weren't grazing everything to the ground. So now that, that that brush, those saplings, everything could start regrowing. And as that did, that helped out the songbird population. That helped out, all these different species that really need a healthy ecosystem to thrive.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Pup Cross Foster Program. Explain to listeners what that program is and what it does.
So Mexican gray wolves, like I said, they did go extinct for a time period in the wild. Then they were reintroduced. I believe it was in 1998 that they were reintroduced into Arizona, New Mexico, and Mexico. Um, and as that population started to build, there was a combination of letting that wild population repopulate itself. But obviously, since they almost went extinct, genetics was a big challenge. So one of the things that needs to be done is the that other wolves from the captive population need to also be sent to the wild to help with the genetic diversity. Um, at some point, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife decided that they just only wanted pups to be cross-fostered or fostered. So what that is that when puppies are born to a captive mother and father, um, they can take some of those puppies before they're 2 weeks old and they can fly them out to Arizona or New Mexico and put those puppies into a den of a mother that has puppies around the same age, a litter around the same age, they can do that. And wolves are one of the animals that will adopt other puppies. So it really is amazing that we can get that genetic material in that fashion. And Trumpet is one of the wolves that has had that chance because she's so genetically distinct. She's actually cross-fostered, I believe it's 14 puppies now. Not all from the same litter, obviously, but at multiple times she's been able to have some of her puppies cross-fostered into the wild. And that will end up probably being the fifth book, is just to highlight that part of it, that one of her puppies at that time was cross-fostered into the wild, and just to take kids on that journey to say, to show them that it's a blessing and that also not only do we have these captive populations of wolves, that also we have the wolves in the wild and they are just as valuable. And to let kids be able to celebrate that in a hopeful manner.
Well, let's talk about Trumpet's courting behavior and how she likes to drag deer carcasses into her den.
Yeah, so one of the exciting things that at the Wolf Conservation that they have live web cameras. So anybody can go to newyorkwolf.org and log on to those web cameras, and they can watch, any one of the families. They have typically an enclosure camera, and then they also have a den camera. Trumpet actually gave birth to the three puppies on the cover of the fourth book. She gave birth to them live on that den camera. And so we were able to watch her, giving birth, but then also afterwards caring for these puppies, nurturing them, nursing them. And she's a little spunky. I love writing about her because she's got these, variety of characteristics. So she has been known to, when they get fed a carcass, kind of grab a little portion of that and bring that into her den. And one time that was, the head of a deer, and another time it was like the full rack of the deer head and the back ribs, and she's kind of saving up those snacks for, when she has to just stay in the den with her puppies and she just gets a little hunger.
All right. Well, tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that listeners need to be aware of.
So right now the fourth book is out and about. So people can get the books at online retailers. They can get the books at the Wolf Conservation Center. If they sign up for a program, they can go to the store there, and various independent bookstores. So I've been really highlighting that book. I will be doing a library reading at the Lewisboro Library on December 6th. I will also be on the November 29th, I will be at Book Love doing a reading. That's an independent bookstore in Massachusetts, and just trying to get this book out there. But like I said, these books are each a different segment of her life. So I did want to highlight that cross foster, and that would be the fifth book. So I do have the rough draft written out, but I don't have the illustrations yet, or I haven't completed the manuscript as far as the editing. And so that is in the process, but that would be the next step as far as this series for Trumpet.
Well, so listeners can keep up with everything that you're up to. Throw out your contact info.
Yeah, so anybody can email me at leokadiageorge.books@gmail.com. I have a bio with my publisher, and also up-to-date events that I've done at Briley and Baxter Publications. So, anybody can kind of look at that and listen. This podcast will be up there too. And then if anybody wants to follow Trumpet, you can see her on those web cameras or learn more about her or the Mexican gray wolves at newyorkwolf.org. And obviously, definitely check out those web cameras. It's fun to watch them.
All right. Close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if there was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, or any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
Yeah, so when reading these books or any books about wolves, my recommendation and something that I've done for each of these books, I've always added a howling moment so that you can have a group howl. Get those kids howling, howl with them. It's such a bonding experience. And it's just fun to like listen to the kids howling together. It's something that I always recommend doing. Kind of makes it interactive, but just howling just brings out an immense joy, and I just always recommend doing that. Obviously, in the libraries, they might not like it so much, but definitely when reading in the classrooms or at home, give a good howl.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, check out everything Leokadia is going to be up to. Pick up the books. Share this with all of the kids that you know. Share this to parents with kids. Share this to as many people as possible. For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Leokadia, thank you for all that you're doing for the Mexican Wolves. And thank you for writing this book. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Until next time, keep living the dream.